8.2, Part 6 of CQ1, 3 questions. M2B5, M2C4, and 8. Look at the first question. Number 5. Without appropriate Java annotation tools, processing annotation part. So the annotation part for Java source files is useless. True? Yeah, it's useless. All right. We know a compiled Java file. Compiled Java file contains 2 parts. Annotation part and Java instruction part. All right. So these 2 parts separated in the compiled file, separated. All right. So now without appropriate annotation rules, so this part is useless. Okay. All right. So that's why we say annotation part is useless. Yeah, but instruction part is still can be used. The same as before. They work the same as before. Before means with annotation part. Yeah. So the annotation part mainly is used for configuration. But that configuration part is gone. Okay? If you do not provide appropriate annotation processing tool, that configuration part information, that feature, so there are some features associated with the annotation part, that part is gone. So you cannot use that part anymore. But if your application only needs still the original, that instruction part, it's fine. Your application can still work as expected. Okay? Yeah. All right. So then, based on this understanding, so if we go a few steps further, yeah, because this annotation part, when you develop your Java classes in IDE, Eclipse, IDE, yeah, that annotation part, the compiler also check it. The compiler or check your annotations for formats, right? Your annotation should be used following certain format. Okay? If you do not use your annotations as the format described, then errors. Compiler will complain, put some error things, so red lines, cross sign, so telling you should fix this annotation. Yeah. So this kind of behavior in IDE make the annotation part look like the regular Java statement. Regular Java statement. Okay, yeah. But they are different. Yeah. So annotations mainly provide configuration information. If you do not fix the annotation errors, yeah, let's imagine that way. If we do not fix the annotation errors, then we lose the configuration part. Okay, we lose the configuration part. Yeah. All right, but we can use the Java statements. Yeah. So you need to think about, if your Java applications really need a configuration part, you have to fix it. Yeah. Why I talk about this? Because most of us may feel we always need a configuration part, right? We always need a configuration part. Sometimes it's not. When we talk about reuse your Java classes. We talk about reusability, right? So reuse your Java classes. Okay? For example, you have a special Java class. So you use to your business. In that application, you put the annotation information there. All right. Next, so you want to reuse your business class. So you copy your Java class to a different application. In that application, you only use the Java statement part. The configuration part, you may not need it anymore, right? Because you move to a new application. The new application, the situation is different from your old application, right? When that happens, can you ignore the annotation part, right? So it's possible you can ignore the annotation part. If you ignore that, that means even when your IDE complains with annotation errors, you may just ignore it. Okay? Yeah. So that's the reason. Yeah. So we treat the annotation part and the Java instruction part separately and differently in real-world applications. Yeah. All right, so next question. Only when an annotation supports single element, we can use it as a single value annotation. Answer is false. Here, I want to check your understanding on this concept. Single value annotation. The meaning of that. Yeah. The meaning of that is different from what we describe it here, only when an annotation supports single element. It's not that, okay? So the meaning, an annotation that supports multiple elements. Okay, yeah, multiple elements. Each element, so there is a name and a value, right? So you have multiple, all right? Yeah. But there is one special element. Its name is called a value. Equals, something. All right, one special element is that. Then you may have some other elements, okay, several other elements. Yeah. L1, L2, okay, all right. You may have multiple, okay, all right. So then we know when we write annotation, some of the elements can be skipped. So we can skip some of the elements. But when you skip those elements, their default values are used. So that's the typical way. Now you have a multi-element annotation. You skip all these elements that are different from that value element. The value element you do not skip, okay? You skip all those non-value element, okay? You only use this value element, all right? So when you use that value element, then we call that single value annotation. That's the meaning of single value annotation, okay? But this annotation, we know, it supports multiple elements, not just a single element, okay? So that's the meaning. In that case, this value attribute can be omitted. You just put the value. You just put the, double quotes, the value part. Then the processing tool knows, oh, this part, because you skipped the attribute name, is supposed to be used for the value element. All the remaining other elements just take their default values. Then all the information, all the pieces information can be resolved for your annotation. Yeah. So that's the meaning. Okay. So that's the detailed understanding for this question. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Next one, number 8. Is it possible that one URL pattern can invoke 2 different controller methods? Answer is yes. So why? The same pattern you can invoke different controller methods. Now, in my notes, I gave you the answer. So here, let me explain another time. We know when we use URL pattern to send a request to controller, some method, right? Yeah. Usually we do this. Okay. All right. When you send, you may need to specify HTTP methods. So when you send, what HTTP method do you use? Specify HTTP methods. Okay? Yeah. Here I'm talking about 4 different methods. First one, get. Second one, post. Third one, put. Fourth one, delete. Okay? Among these 4, get is the default HTTP method. That means if you do not specify explicitly, get method is used. Now, all the remaining non-default, you have to specify. If you want to use any of them, you have to specify their name. Yeah. How to specify? There are different ways, right? Yeah. So in the HTML form, we know how to specify. HTML form, when we use form tag, right? Form tag, action. So that's your data processing file. Then method attribute, right? You need to use method attribute. Then you have chance to specify. Yeah. Yeah. But this is just one way to do it. One way to specify the method. Other ways, if you know jQuery, if you know how to use jQuery, we can specify different HTTP methods when we use appropriate jQuery functions. Okay? Yeah. If later I have chance, I may show you using the jQuery way to send requests using different HTTP methods. All right, so this is the last question of this video. Yeah, so let me finish our part 8.2 video here.